Hi! Today I'm going to be painting a somewhat special and important painting to me, so I thought I'd bring you guys along. So come along and I hope you enjoy. Also, the editing of this video is going to be slightly more on the chill side because I want you to be able to enjoy the peacefulness, I guess. That rhymed. Anyways, I hope you enjoy. Let's get started. That did nothing at all. So for this painting, I will be using this 9x12 canvas panel, and I've already taped it down, and now we're going to place it on this beautiful easel. I actually want to name this easel, so if you've had any name ideas, please leave the comments below, because I'd like to name the easel. Anyways, for this painting, I'm actually only going to need 3 different colors, and that is black, white, and gold. And just look at how beautifully this black paint comes out. So I'm starting the painting off by taking some nice black paint and just painting that in the little area that I taped up. And black, I think, is the most satisfying color to paint with because it just applies so beautifully, so opaque. You don't need to do multiple layers. I really enjoyed this part a lot. Now I'm taking the tape off and placing it just below what I just painted to create another little section which I'm going to paint black. And I haven't told you what I'm painting yet. I'm painting the Kaaba, which is the holiest site for Muslims all across the world. It is located in Saudi Arabia in Makkah in Masjid al-Haram. And I also would like to wish all of my Muslim viewers a very happy Islamic New Year. Yeah, I am a little late on that. Now we are going to take some of this beautiful white acrylic paint, and it was so satisfying to take this huge chunk of white acrylic paint without having to worry that it's going to run out because, you know, I have the huge chunk now. Anyways, now I'm going to quickly mix up a nice dark gray for our second base color. Please ignore this little phone peeking through because I also wanted to get a beautiful shot for a YouTube short. I wanted to get a beautiful shot for YouTube short. Alright, so I'm just covering this whole entire white area with this gray paint that I just mixed up. This is what I've ended up with, and this is our final base background layer. And on top of this is going to come a lot of Arabic lettering. And to start our lettering, I'm using this random notepad thing that I had lying around, and I've started sketching on it. The verse La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, along with other verses, is what is written all over the cloth of the Kaaba, which is known as Kiswa, and the reason the Kaaba is covered is to prevent it from people touching it and to preserve it. After a lot of unsuccessful attempts, I've ended up with this. This is what we're going to trace all over the great part, and it's going to take us forever, so let's get into it. There's 2 techniques that I'd like to try, so first let's go ahead and try this one. There's 2 things I did wrong here. First, I didn't apply enough pressure while pressing the pencil down, and the second thing is my paper was actually facing the canvas, which means whatever I was trying to trace was getting traced backwards, and I did not notice that until much later. Gosh, I can barely see that. Erase that. Try a different technique. Let's try again. Once again, this time I pressed hard enough, but again, it was traced backwards. Okay, that is actually much better. It's not very clear, but I can see. Then I trace in a way I normally would, and that's when I realized, wait a second, this one's backwards, and then I went ahead and fixed that, and then continued to do that throughout the entire upper gray area. And now I'm going to start trying to outline this, for which I'm using a calligraphy marker, which I'm not even using like a calligraphy marker because I don't know how to do calligraphy using a marker. Anyways, I was being so careful and so slow during this process. I was like, this has to come out good. I cannot mess this up. So this is painfully slow to watch, so we're gonna speed it up. It took quite a long time to get a hang of it, also because it was kind of complicated to do. But after an hour or so, I finished this part, and we still got this whole entire gray area to fill, so I'm not excited. Now, you may think this was easy to do because I'm repeating the same thing over and over again, so I'm probably getting used to it and understanding how to do, but it was confusing every single time, specifically this part because the left side is a reflection of the right side. It confused me every time. My hands just got so dirty, and this table I cleaned right before starting the painting is now a huge mess, so that's great. After hours of writing the same thing over and over again, we are finally here at the last one. It's day 2 and it's also very sunny. I'm cutting a piece of paper out to the size of the black strip that we painted very early on in the video. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to sketch on the paper once again and I'm going to trace it. Why am I sketching on the paper and not directly on the canvas? That is because sometimes it's very hard to erase on canvases and sometimes it's hard to erase whenever you write on black. It creates like this weird little gray area wherever you erase, and I don't really like that, so I felt more comfortable sketching on a piece of paper. And I also decided to sketch in double letters, which wasn't really necessary because I wasn't going to trace it this way anyway, so this just ended up taking an extra amount of time when I didn't need to do this. I used to draw curvy lines so fast when I was younger, I don't know what happened here. This is what the finished sketch looks like. I think it turned out pretty good. Now I'm going to color the back of it so I can go ahead and trace it on our painting. And while we do that, let me tell you a little bit more about the kiswa, which is the cloth of the Kaaba. Because it is all handmade, it takes 137 workers around 8 months to create the kiswa. Even the whole entire golden embroidery is handmade, and I think the workers do such a good job at it because it looks so beautiful. The outer layer of the kiswa is made up of 670 kg of raw silk, and it is also lined with cotton on the inside. And another fact is the door of the Kaaba is now made up of real solid gold. Speaking of gold, we are now getting into the gold lettering part of this painting, and I was like, this was such a nerve-wracking process. I didn't want to mess this up, and this gold marker, I can't actually trust it because it has leaked so many times, specifically while drawing lines. So I was terrified that it was just going to leave like a huge blob of gold ink, and how on earth am I going to cover that up? So I was trying to be very careful and very slow with this process. But anyways, these golden embroideries are not just any type of Arabic writing. These are verses from the Quran. Some of them are the verses from Surah Al-Baqarah, and some of them are from different surahs. And after doing a little bit of research, I found out the translated version of the verse that I wrote. So that they witness benefits for them and recite Allah's name in specified days over the provision He gave them from the cattle. So eat thereof and feed the distressed, the poor. Then they must remove their dirt and fulfill their vows and make the tawaf of the ancient house. Now back to the painting, I am working on these white designs. Doing these curved lines with the white paint was not that hard, but later on trying to add the tiny little curves and the little leaves to make the design look elegant was the hard part, because it wasn't looking elegant at all. It was kind of looking very chunky and thick and weird, and I was not liking how it was looking. I kept trying to do it over and over again, but then I moved on and tried to do this white thing, which I want you to keep in mind because I painted these very roughly and I thought I was going to fix it up later with some type of black. But doing these little tiny white parts was getting very hard to do, and I was getting very annoyed at it, so I kept going back, doing some type of black, adding some type of white, just kind of going ahead and messing with it over and over again. So I just covered it with black, and then I fully forgot to go ahead and paint those white things, and I remembered and realized that after 2 whole days of finishing the painting. And now here I am sitting editing this video. I still haven't painted the white parts, but I promise I will someday. And while we were on the topic of those white little things, I have finished a lot of the gold calligraphy. Now I'm going ahead and fixing a lot of the very thick parts, trying to make them look a little bit more refined and beautiful, and adding the very tiny little details. And I am using the technique where you stab your gold marker on your palette a million times to get the gold ink out, and then use a fine brush to do it. And then I went back to do the white border, for which this time I did it the other way around. I first painted a strip of white, and then I colored, I guess, the negative space is what you call it. I don't know, I colored that in and it kind of worked, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, so let's just move on from that and go on to the part below it. For this one, I actually changed the border a little bit because the original border looked a little bit complicated for me to create. I thought if I was going to try to recreate it, it might look very crowded and very clumsy, so I kind of simplified it a little, and now I'm just going ahead, cleaning a few parts up using my black marker, and then we are going to flip our canvas around to write the little details, and just ignore my handwriting. It is most of the time better than this. I was just very tired. But the painting is complete. And that is what the painting has turned out like. I'm actually so happy with the final result. I love how the gold parts turned out. I love how neat the painting looks, and I'm really proud of myself, and this is one of my favorite paintings ever now, and I really hope you guys like it too. And if you made it all the way till here, then thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed.